Welcome back to another Soul Days. Hope you're enjoying your weekend, having a good Sunday out there. All right, let's dive right in. Bitcoin, we're a little down from yesterday. Let's check out our chart we've been drawing over the past handful of days. A couple of things that I wanted to point out today, but if we're going to look for a little recap here, we mapped out some of the motives on the recent Elliot moves. Is this a 4? Do we have confirmation on wave 4? Did it end here? And now we're looking for where 5 is going to end up. Could be the case. I drew out a couple of possibilities on how that map could go. Could this be a lead up to just number 3 here? Most indication says no. This is most likely a 4, so we're looking for 5. But if this is a 3, then we're gonna look for more waves down. But a couple of very interesting points, and again, leading right back to what we've been discussing over the past several days. A lot of these indicators are suggesting that the market is showing some motive now. We're in some motive sequences. If this is an Elliot pattern, going off the Elliot theory, a lot of interesting moments coming up. And I believe that's what's happening here. If this is a leading diagonal, you want to look for 1 and 4 to overlap. You don't really need that. If it's an ending diagonal, we don't really need overlap on the 1 and 4 either. But you can see here, a leading diagonal is kind of defined by just a head up on your sequence. And you have a certain pattern that you follow, and it looks like this pattern is following really nicely. Could this be the one that's overlapping? It's not a super strong move, but you see lead moves here. And I think that we're in that sequence that's strongly defined here, and it's letting us know that the market is motivated. Market is getting ready to be motivated. Okay, yesterday we talked about Solana having a surprising jump up, and then we saw some news coming out in the middle of a massive 10x upward trend. But a month prior, we saw a really strong move up in July last year, 2021, on Solana, and then a little bit less than halfway up from the top, you started to see some news mentioning some major buyers entering the Solana market. So let's look at Bitcoin. I pulled this article up from 2020 saying that 87% of Bitcoin investments were made by major players, institutional investors, in other words. That is in 2020. When I do a search, almost all news reports coming out of that time period were made around the later part of 2020 or early 21, as you see here. And that was likely following, I'm going to make an argument here for this discussion, that was likely following the Lightning Network release in 2019. You can see here the first transactions were made in 2017, but the major portion of the network was launched in 2019. Could we see something very similar to the motivational market surrounding crypto right now, particularly with Ethereum? We hear a lot of talk about institutional buying entering Bitcoin. What about Ethereum? Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. Going back to Bitcoin. So again, Bitcoin, 2020, towards the end of 2020, could we be looking at something similar here, where we're going to start? So if this is a lead development here, we're going to look for some more downside, especially if we want 5 to conclude. That's going to take us down some, but we're going to see these kinds of markers here, some lead market types. where we're going to start to see motivational buys taking us up and bringing us back down, taking us up. And it's going to be a song and dance like that. So I circled these to highlight a little bit of what that foot of the mountaintop might look like. Okay? And you can go back and see some where drop-offs occurred, and you see markets finding some inspiration, finding some opportunity again. And so this is where you have clear downward motivation. And when the market begins to turn, you start to see lead diagonals, lead pressure wedges kind of flip, right? So sometimes you like to look for downward wedges to imply an upward move. But that's sometimes, and it's not really a rule. And here we could be seeing these moments taking us down a little bit. However, overall, we're in quite possibly some motivational sequences here. Getting ready for some trading moments to continue to occur, carry us back into these bouncing up and down channels here. Some really, really exciting times ahead. And again, let's look at why we want to start looking at these things early. Why is right now too early? And do you want to be too early, or do you want to be too late? You don't want to be either one, right? You want to be, it's not about timing the market. I'm not saying that you're going to have to always be on time, but you do want to start looking for opportunity. I've been making the argument that real items like crypto and NFTs, that's where the opportunity is. If you're worried about institutions getting in, this is a very unique opportunity and moment in time where small hands can be entering the market right alongside major players. You want to know sometimes what big dogs are doing. This could be one of those moments. So in 2021, we hear more news, right? Early 2021, February, we hear more announcements. Institutions are now holding 3% of the supply, as where 87% in 2020. Transparency was disclosing that almost 90% of Bitcoin investments occurring in 2020 were institutional related. That's a massive buying in, right? And then we're seeing that the result of that occur here. So throughout 2020, right, so here's the end of 2019. There's a nice run up here. And then we see some confidence being lost. This could be on the foot, right, of COVID. A lot of similar macro situations happening now, arguably. And then we have a motivated market here again. And then you start to see the decrease in volume occur again at another foot of the mountain. Like if this is a one here, just somebody just absolutely couldn't wait. But I think overall, this is an overlap here. So this is looking more and more like a 4. Very interesting. Major institutions, financial markets keep buying into crypto. If you're one of those who thinks a particular chain is not going to make it, and that's why you're worried about VCs or institutions getting into it because they're going to dump on you, that's, but otherwise, what are you implying? Is this not the direction that financial markets are headed? Is this not the direction? Is crypto and NFT not the direction that service and product markets are not going to be headed? Or at least in some kind of massive way down the road. It might not be as global as it's being made out to be, but I disagree with that. It's going to be galactic. I'm highlighting this Lightning Network 2017, 2019 because we have institutions leading the market here, having some really good information and good insight on what makes a good investment. You do searches on institutional buying on Bitcoin. A lot of the articles are going to pop up being 2020. And that's the sort of lagging indicator, the market trend. I'm just sharing with you guys that maybe you want to be looking at it before you have confirmation. Don't wait for confirmation, but also be patient. It's always a battle, isn't it? But okay. And so I highlight Lightning Network because we're at the foot, and we're starting to see a lot of marketing talk about Ethereum 2.0. Hearing a lot of, whatever you want to call it, FUD, hype. It's all the same. It's marketing. It's talking about Ethereum 2.0. It's putting it out there. So then if we just talked about what's been happening with Bitcoin, in that case, what could possibly be happening with Ethereum, right? So right now, Ethereum is still trending downward, but we're talking about a motivated market now. A lot of wind's been taken out. Confidence is leaving. It's not going to take too much to affect price anymore. When major players leave, it leaves a mark, like we've been seeing with Bitcoin. So here you go. Earlier this year, Fidelity increases their holdings and is also developing financial opportunities, financial services around Ethereum holdings involving custody and trading. Grayscale Trust continues to ramp up their clients' exposure to Ethereum holdings. Here on Yahoo Finance, there's some transparency here about who's holding Ethereum. Another interesting point is that prior to 2020, it was really difficult for me to find anything related to Bitcoin and who was holding it. So I pulled up this article here to also highlight who is holding Bitcoin, if there are reservations about where Bitcoin is headed, where we're at right now. Everything's red, it looks bad. But we have the likes of Grayscale, Tesla, CoinShare, Ruffer, EDC Group, Galaxy Digital, Skybridge, Square. Massive hands, massive institutional adoption. It's been happening. There was a report like we just saw in 2020. So that was suggesting that 2021 was already an institutionally led Bitcoin holding. They were already getting in. They're aware of financial markets, what's happening, what's going to make moves, and also looking for true utility, true infrastructure adoption. Ethereum-based holdings among institutions up 19%, as where Bitcoin's adoption was only 3%. In 2021, just about 3%. So this is telling you a couple of things, that institutions are also looking at the utility that Ethereum provides, which is suggesting infrastructure investing. And number two, we're now seeing about 20% of Ethereum holdings being institutional. So big money continues to look at crypto and continues to increase the amount of exposure that they're having. We're seeing more and more trusts backing the value of their portfolios with crypto. What's interesting is that right now it's really difficult to find out who exactly, what institutions are holding how much of Ethereum. We can check Etherscan here, but it's not giving us a clear indication on names outside of the crypto market. These are exchanges which hold massive amounts of ETH. But we're not seeing other accounts, particular accounts, being named. Grayscale and Square and so on, like we are seeing on this chart here with Bitcoin. A lot of this transparency started to be available after some massive moves were being made. That takes us to small caps or smaller or mid caps like Solana. And so when you do a search on Solana institutional investors, right now in 2021, that's all that's popping up. Just like everything related to institutional buying for Solana is dated 2021. What did we see yesterday from Solana in the early parts of 2021. Let's pull up our chart that we've been looking at. So here we go, early 2021. Solana starts to just make an immense run here, and you're pretty much talking about 100x and much more. And then you start seeing articles popping up throughout 2021, in the mid and later parts of 2021, about institutional investment. So this is a twofold situation here, where you have institutional buying really enveloping supply, and you have a mixture of new market, so retail money coming into this market here, and it just continues to grow. And we reach the mountaintop here. So now we have draw off with some moments of trading, but overall there's no leads anymore, right? Until we get to here. Now we're starting to see folds and overlap on either side. So now, arguably, we are beginning to get into a motivated sequence here, where you can start to see some things round off. And quite possibly, we're looking for a strong indication now on 5. So here's the chart that we were using yesterday. I drew out a couple of potential possibilities here. If this was not 4, what else could be happening here? So 4, we talked about, if 4 were to lead out, stretch out a little bit more here, if our lead diagonal maybe continued out a little bit, we'd still be, I think we'd still hit this trajectory path and cool off here, but that'd be a little bit of a more dire situation here, because that would take us down a little bit further, exhausting some buy-ins here. But in fact, we're turning down pretty hard. We don't know how this is going to turn out. So if this was actually rather if this was actually ending us on a 1 or a 2 or a 3 here, rather than a 4, then we're looking for the 5 moves down. But that would not draw out an accurate pattern unless there's some other possibilities ahead. So I think this is an interesting perspective to take on this being 4 and concluding on 5 here, because that would indicate pretty strongly on a resistance line here that we're looking for something at 18. I don't think that we're going to go that much lower than that. People are saying like $10, although I did on a math-based scale, our matrices are telling us that $8 are potentially what's could be happening here. There is another lower resistance at $11 about. So I think those sort of situations are gonna be played out if we see more or something else more ridiculous on the macro level. And as I mentioned, confidence is pretty shaken here. It's not going to take very much to affect price right now. I don't know if this is a double top here, or maybe even here, triple. If this is a double top, what do we need to see? We need to see, for one, this side lower than this. If this was a double top here, no. But if it is, just for the sake of thought, because nothing's going to map out perfectly, right? These mountaintops are bringing us down back to a foot here. Here's an overlap. Here's another overlap. Really suggestive patterns of resistances and supports here. Almost any way you kind of want to look at this, it doesn't, right now, it doesn't really take us off path. Yeah, and we're seeing how nicely this is playing out against the chart that we've been drawing out here. The market, it's getting motivated again, and by motivated I mean a lot of the issues we've been having are priced in. Not going to take very much to move price. The market is rounding out. We're getting into the later parts of the year that often suggest that there are likely scenarios to play out, but I'm wanting to believe that the least likely scenario is what is actually going to happen. And so when we were looking at news here, because I think news is important somewhat, as I've been mentioning, because we can see some correlation between news and price. We've been hearing some talk about the China housing market. The major problem that China had was that over the past handful of years, there was no property tax. People weren't paying property tax. Don't get fooled by these political drawbacks. We see it all the time. Here we go with Afghanistan. It's kind of, to me, what's interesting is that on the ground level, communities are really, really pro crypto. And so we have someone here who's a really, really important community leader. And he's somebody that could have massive influence on the ground level. And here we have him recently talking about a digital economy and the need for it. You know, he's been involved in building infrastructure between dams on between Afghanistan and Pakistan. These are the kind of feet on the ground type of leaders that could make huge differences that lead to macro situations that in turn cause markets to move. And so I highlight these sort of things because we're seeing, you know, whenever I open news articles and things like that on front pages, you know, we're seeing a lot of political agenda here. More suspicion on crypto being used for nefarious means. We've been hearing that from day one with Bitcoin. You know, like, what's the difference between cash argument and Bitcoin? It's worse for cash. You know, Bitcoin and Ethereum and things like crypto with automatic ledgers, blockchain systems. It's so much easier to check. We had proof of that over a few cases over the past several years, and much more less known situations, but with the FBI catching hackers and scammers and things like that through the use and power of blockchain technology and the transparency that it provides. Cash, there's none of that. Cash is ghostly. And so we have attacks on Tornado Cash and things like that, you know, multi-private networks, totally anonymous ledgers. So these narratives are gonna continue to happen. And in my opinion, these are the kind of narratives that tend to occur when bottoms are rounding out. Again, not suggesting we're in a bottom, not trying to identify a bottom. Bottoms tend to run a little bit long. Although I would, and that's why I brought up the EMA, I would argue that we're in exponential times. So we need to look at the markets in exponential terms. But this is the sort of news that drives markets to trade sideways. And although this is a really negative and hard to understand narrative and see through and expect confirmation to pop out of this somewhere, we have actual community leaders continue to fight for digital asset adoption, because we know that digital asset adoption is going to relieve a lot of financial issues. You know, moving money, transparency, just cost of moving money, time, efficiency. Here's another article with Yusuf that I wanted to just kind of point out really quick, who was previously vice president chair of Lahore Chain of Commerce, and Meher Kasif Yunis is suggesting that hydroelectricity and things like that, taking inspiration from what he considers pillars of society, including major countries like the US, China, and other Eastern Asian East countries like Japan. These are extremely important moments really critical and key moments for crypto and continued adoption. So it starts with community leaders, financial markets, and institutions, and it leads us to retail, you and I. And it's always good to get in or start looking at it for your own confirmation. So more news from Coinbase evaluating the network on the merge coming up. Is this, this is just bringing eyes to light here. It's just news on Ethereum merge, and this is kind of suggestive of what I was just talking about, where you're going to start to see and hear news about things like that. And it's a little bit after the fact that institutions and major players and smart money is getting in. So let's move back to Solana. Okay, so why is it important to look at small caps with risk right now? If we're in a recession-like period and we're seeing less risky assets do well, is infrastructure a wise decision right now? And in certain times, infrastructure could be considered pretty risky. However, if you look at the infrastructure that crypto could be potentially providing, as well as service markets and products, you might want to also consider the fact that crypto and NFTs are defined as real items, just like real estate. You hear Michael Saylor talking about it all the time. If Bitcoin is real estate, what is Ethereum? And what are smaller caps like Solana and Cardano? So, really interesting times ahead. One of the really important indicators behind chains, in my opinion, are NFTs. NFTs are the clear path to what service and product could be provided by crypto chains. And when you're looking for an investment on more risky assets, on risk opportunities, you want to start looking at the services that they actually provide, the actual utility. Ethereum being number one right now. And there are other opportunities like I've been pointing out with Solana, Flow. I'll be talking more about Flow in the coming shows. I really like Binance. I'm a big fan of CZ. The way he navigates legal structures and manages opportunities. He's a great. He's excellent for crypto, and overall, what Binance has done and their success, it's been excellent. I also really like ADA. I'm surprised Cardano NFTs are not on this list. I like Chronos as well. I think Chronos presents very unique and interesting and massive upside potential opportunities here for Chronos. I like Phantom too. I think I'm just a big fan of infrastructure buying, or more simply put, opportunity in crypto. I really think that at some point crypto is going to have a flip switch moment. And so these market trends leading us into September and through September, I think you guys could really start to look for some really major interesting moves occurring in the beginning month of October, the end of September. But I think we're going to have some pretty nice, clear, we're beginning to clear up indication of some confidence returning to the market throughout September. So Wax, another really well built ecosystem on Wax, and by really competent people too. I've been listening to Joe Calm's show, Travis Wright and Joe Calm, for quite a while. I think those guys are awesome. Just about everything they talk about does well. But Wax is one of the very few, if not maybe the only one. I haven't been listening to him very much lately, but maybe the only one that hasn't really just popped out, and it has everything that it should need to do so. NFTs, though, it's a service market, it's a product. So it really depends on reaching the right audience. And it could just be a matter of circumstance with Wax, and one of those that just kind of another flip switch potential type of investment. So again, I'm on Crypto Slam right now. Really interesting thing to take a look at, especially if you're making decisions on whether or not to get in or out of crypto. I think NFT markets are clear and bright indicator of the network potential. Solana flow on NFTs up though today by a really nice amount, near 40% off of yesterday. We got about 500,000 more in sales than yesterday. As we start to see Solana price pull back in the coming months, pull up, in other words, this sales amount is going to increase. We see here transactions, though, right, already on par with Ethereum. Although Ethereum arguably has layer 2s that are also driving their own transactions and spreading them out. Maybe you could consider Polygon to have a hand on that. Arbitrum as well is similar, but Immutable X really going off here too. It'd be good to look at what's going on there. I'm still holding my Immutable X apes, but if we're highlighting Solana and Ethereum right now, the two major players here, Solana presents a really interesting opportunity. As I mentioned, I like to see Cardano enter this top 16 here. But all right, overall, gonna be interesting coming up. DeGod's really popping off here. 530 SOL floor, awesome. Here, talking about Shremps right here. Ecclesia, we looked at that a couple days ago. About to touch a 1 SOL floor. That was up from about a trend between 0.2 and 0.4 for quite a while, or about at least a week or more. Lotus Gang, you can consider them an OG project. They were trending between 2 and 5. Really nice to see this blow up. Shinsengoku, another project, been around for a bit, had a rough period after launch, but still sticking around. Excellent founder, very active in Soul community. Really fun to listen to on Twitter Spaces. I'd like to see this project really start to take off again. ICU doing really well. We talked about this a few episodes ago. Traded some on the B-roll. See here, Shremps topping the chart here, number 1, Magic Eden popular list. Pretty fun looking project. I like the art on this. Kind of gives me that Subduck look, feeling. A mix between maybe Subducks and Gothic Degens. Really nice art. I like this a lot. Pretty fun. So yeah, nice collection. I'll likely be doing some trading on this. All right, we'll leave it there. continue to look into crypto, continue learning, continue to grow. Market is beginning to present some opportunities. We have some major moves that we'll continue to look at, see if they're at play in the coming moments. And yep, have fun, trade safe. See you on the next one. Thank you. Bye. We're shrimp farming. Look at this guy here. Look at those shrimp. This Thompson. White tiger. MJ jacket. Jason mask. Little guy in the pocket. Yeah, I like this guy right here. That's not bad. Nice, I like the coral background. The Anon mask. Green hair dude. This collection's funny. Yeah, these would be great to be on the wall. I like these. Some nice pieces on the floor here. Got the mullet. So, yeah, I like the X eyes. I want to see X eyes, dude, with the long hair. Maybe a coral background. Eyes. X eyes. Oh dang, some are animated. Can you save this as? Can you save it as a PNG or something? Yeah, because you can save these as a PNG, which it's not a PNG, or JPEG. You know, you can put it on Twitter, and it'll get recognized by NFT Inspect. Otherwise, you have to reproduce the JPEG, the pic, off of the GIF, and it'll be considered altered, so it won't get recognized on chain by NFT Inspect. What I mean is, you have the symbol here. So most likely, if I were to pick up that animated piece, Shrimp, I won't have that Solana symbol. I want the Solana symbol or ETH symbol. I want I want the NFT on chain to show. Because that's the fun of it. That's the utility, right? That's how we recognize each other, NFT buyers. That's how we identify each other. Right now, anyway. Dang. Come on, match me now right now. But I like this collection. We'll take a look at this one. Some charting on Hello Moon. If it's on there, probably not. It's pretty new. But SoDead's moving up on the floor, creeping up still. The purification looks awesome. The new NFT after purifying looks great. Art is really nice on SoDead. I really like it. What they're doing is pretty cool. I like the community. Also, always shouting them out. Shout out SoDead community. SoDeads, yeah. Floor moving up. Let's see if we could find some purifieds. I didn't get around to it yet. I actually still have to pick up the chalice. But yeah, look at this. Super nice. That's the purple guy. Man, I like how these turn out. Excellent. Well done. It's a cool video here of the cult leader leading the purification. Awesome. So Metaverse coming for SoDead. This team can do it. This team can do it. This is great art too. Being in NFT communities, you really learn how important it is for the NFT community leaders and founders to be all involved and on the same page. If they can really get the NFT holders as a community to work together, they can do really well. We see that with DeGods. DeGods is pretty unified. Their holders are always supporting each other. Whenever one of the DeGods community releases a project, it tends to do really well. It's always Blocksmith Labs. Although Blocksmith Labs is, an excellent project on its own, regardless. but it also goes to show you the quality of holding DeGods. I don't know about how they're running the Utes thing. I think that's really just, it's cool, but and yeah, not trying to be negative. I'm already singing DeGod's praises, but and the community itself, don't take this as a fade, but really running the Utes thing, it's just kind of favoring I don't know, same old people in the space, and I don't know, the way it's hyped and things like that, and building hype off of locking people out. Hopefully they're using the kind of service that Atedia is offering to provide certain people from the Sol community who have kept liquidity in, or continue to trade in Sol's Sol NFTs community, not just extracting. Maybe even people who've been around for a while but haven't had the opportunity to get a hit. They didn't get into OK Bears. They entered the market maybe a little bit after SMB, and for whatever reason couldn't get into DeGods when there were opportunities. Learn from the experiences that I've had. I've been making the mistakes and getting wrecked for you guys, and I'm sharing that knowledge and experience with you guys, so you don't have to go through those wallet numbing experiences. I did build up actually a pretty good trading wallet at one point, but that got drained, and it just kind of comes with the territory, I guess. So yeah, that's why I enjoy sharing my trading activity with you guys and trying to highlight good projects, whether I'm in them or not. Pesky Penguins I'm not in, but that's an OG project that I think right now presents a good entry level opportunity here. 2.5. This is a pretty cool project. Community seems strong, although right now you could argue that there's some sell-offs occurring. But Pesky Penguins is probably widely considered a really strong OG project, and maybe one day in the long run could be a blue chip. But even things like Stone Ape right now are seeing some sell-offs. Although Flora looks still pretty nice though, 33. It's really good, really, really good. Your guy here just continues to grind, trying to get into good projects. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to SoDead. It's been good for me lately because, with the kind of arguably a really down bear market type thing, I've been able to get into what projects would be, really popping off in an up market. Whitelists would be hard, or just kind of hand it out to closed circles. As we're now, we're finding opportunities, like we've been talking about on the show, finding good opportunities to get into excellent projects and lead the market. So, all right, yeah. You saw me trading ABC also the other day. Get a lot of offers on Udder Chaos in my listings. But, alright. So, another day in Sol NFTs. A lot of fun talk on where market's gonna head. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.